Today I'd like to show a video demonstration of how I handle my heels, the heel turn, and the gusset pickup. Now, as you can see, I've already turned the heels on all of these socks. So today we're going to just recap a couple of things. If you recall, these are on two 60-inch cables. I have the inset on one cable, you can see that, and the heels are on a different cable on the back. And these were the ones that I was using the 3 needles to knit on. So now that we're doing the heels, I only need the 2 cables and a double point needle. So this is the point I'm going to demonstrate today. So here I have 2.5 pairs of socks still left on the long back needle. So all I do is take a double point needle, and I like working with double point needles, and I'll show you why. And you can see down here I had to use a few stitch holders, and I just have to transfer these heels to double points to pick up the gussets, but we'll do that a little later. So right now, working on turning this heel, we're going to start off by, this pattern wants me to purl the first 18 stitches, so I will do that. So we've got and I'll also show you how to put these on. You can still work them on one single cable, and with this many socks, and I think I have 9 pair on here, I'm not really sure right now, I think it's 18 socks on here. We have some really nice long cables from Addie. There is a 100-inch cable, and there is a 120-inch cable, which does the multiples very nicely. So we need 18. Let's see, how many do we have? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And on your heel flap, you know, you knit over your number of stitches, and then you'll purl 2 together. And purl 1. Now all you have to do is just turn to go back the other way. Just remember, one needle is still your cable, because you're going to work this heel off onto a double point. So now with the yarn in back, slip the first stitch purlwise, and now we're going to knit over 5. 1, 2, 5. Now we'll knit these 2 through the back loop, and knit 1. Now you know these knit 2s on the purls and knits are what make the gap to form your heel. Now back on the purl side, we're going to slip the first one, yarn in front because you're going to purl, And now we're going to purl over 6. You just remember to count one number up each time you go, and you'll see that you'll be at that gap that it forms. I think that's 3, 4, 5. And if you lose your place, you'll see that once you knit over, you'll see that gap in your stitches on the needle. Now we'll just purl these two together. Purl 1. And then we turn. So if you like heel flaps, I'm sure you're used to doing these heel turns. All right, so we're going to slip this, and it's just going to count up. So here comes the gap right there. On the knit side, remember to knit these two together through that back loop, and knit 1. And then we'll turn again. And this process goes on this pattern until I have 18 stitches left on my needle, ending on the knit side. Slip the first one, and we'll purl back to the gap. Now I'm going to just stop it here before, and then I will show you what happens for the gusset pickup. So right now we're just going to purl back to that gap, and there it is. There's the gap. You can see that. Purl 2, purl 1, and you're ready to turn. So now that the heel is turned, I'm going to use the double point that I picked up the turned heel on, and I'm going to pick up the stitches for the gusset on the same needle. And we will try to get them evenly spaced. And just remember, it has to be on the same needle, and I need to pick up for this pattern 18 stitches. All right, so I've picked up 16 stitches on the gusset. I think I said 18 before, but it is 16 for this pattern. And that was on the heel needle that I had the heel turn on. So we've picked up our 16. Now I will use a second double point, and I'm going to knit straight across all of these stitches. Just knit straight across, and what this does is drops this sock off of the long cable. Once we knit across this inset, this sock will be free, okay? And your project becomes portable at this point if you'd like to throw it in your purse or just sit around with one pair of socks until you're able to just join them back all on your cables. And now, with a third double point needle, I will pick up the gusset on the right side of this sock. And you just work your gusset so it's nice and tight, no holes. And you just work with it a little bit to make sure you can close that hole up in there. And I think that's going to look pretty good. And now I need to pick up 16 stitches. All right, so we've picked up the 16 gusset stitches on the right side of the heel. And now what I have to do is knit 9 from that first double point that we had. So there's 1, just be patient with it, 2, and you'll see that your sock is completely free. It's off from all needles. And what we want to have is 25 on this needle, 25 stitches. So let's count real quick. There's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 23, and 2 more. 24 and 25. Okay, now we'll see that I have this sock free from the cable. All the other socks are still on the cables. And I have worked the gussets. I have picked up the gussets. And what I like to do is, after I've picked up all the needles, the stitches that I need, I like to just go around and knit 1 round after I've picked up the gussets, the whole gusset. And this just evens out my stitches for when I'm ready to, reduce the number of stitches on my heel needles. And it just makes it a lot easier than, seeing that you have picked up stitches. This just evens it all out. So I will continue that, and then your sock is free if you want to do them all. And then we'll, at a later date, I'll show you how we pick them all back up on the cables. Or you may just want to take a pair if you go to, some kind of function like church, maybe. I don't know. And you just want to knit on the sneak. But wherever you want to take a pair of socks or 1 sock, you can always take 1 out. What happens with me is sometimes I'll take my string out, and maybe a family member, before the world spun off its axis, I used to go to my knitting groups, and sometimes someone would want one of the socks I'm knitting, one of the pairs of socks I'm knitting. So I would just knit up to that pair, take it off, finish their socks off, and give them to them. Now I just wanted to show you a little tip if you're not using, this is just a plain plexiglass photo frame. You can pick them up at the dollar store these days. But for knitting, I like to just stick my pattern in one of these. So we have our pattern in here. And just a piece of paper, I make a straight edge. And if you need to follow, well, this pattern I really know by heart, but sometimes when you're doing a complex pattern, you might want to keep up with where you are. And this is a nice little just thing I do when I have a pattern that's not cooperating. And I need to keep up with my rows or whatever. So if you're ever at the dollar store and you see one of these, just pick it up, put it in your knitting basket, and you'll be, I think, just better looking up at your pattern than always trying to look down. But it's a personal preference, and that's my tip for today. So everyone, thanks for watching my video. Buckle your seat belts, keep a safe distance, and be safe. Thank you.